Finland's President Sauli Niinistö condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, calling it a cruel and unprovoked war and a blatant violation of the Charter of the United Nations. He called on UN members not to accept, condone, or normalize such aggression. And this was all before Putin's nuclear comments. Niinistö's nation shares an 800-mile border with Russia, and the war in Ukraine triggered the Finns to apply for NATO membership in May, alongside their neighbors in Sweden. I want to welcome to the program President Niinistö. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
So,
thank you, sir.
Tell us what you think Putin is going to do now. You have met him so many times. He does appear to be cornered in some ways. He does appear to be becoming more reckless with these nuclear threats. Tell us what your analysis of his state of mind is.
How I see is in actually poker terms, he has put all in. And he is a fighter. So it is very difficult to see him accepting any kind of defeat, and that surely makes the situation very, very crucial.
You said, I remember in early February, before the Russian invasion, that something you sensed had changed about Putin, that he used to be very careful, incremental, calculating, but that he was behaving in a much more aggressive fashion just in your conversations. What do you think happened? Because everyone is perplexed by this. Everyone thought Putin was, yes, he may be a nasty guy, but there was a sort of a pattern of carefulness. And he seems to have become very reckless. What do you think has happened?
If we go years back, we see, or at least I have seen and understood some kind of development in his thinking. He's frustrated because of the situation in Ukraine after 2014. And then, in a way, progressively, I have felt that his frustration is growing. And very obviously, he just decided to get this thing somehow solved, or at least trying to solve it.
Do you think that there is a possibility that he will expand his war aims? People talk about Moldova. Obviously, you have to be careful watching. You have a long border with Russia.
We haven't seen any sign in Finland. Actually, it's more calm than for years. So I think that he has enough now headache in Ukraine, and it doesn't seem very obvious that he could make any maneuvers elsewhere. Not now and not in a nearby future.
Do you think that some of Putin's change may have come about because of the isolation of COVID, that he was only listening to a small group of advisors? Because you saw him many times before that. Do you sense that period of 2 years of total isolation has played a part here?
Yeah, I met him last time, approximately a year ago, last October. Yes, it seemed that he is quite alone in the big halls, empty big halls. There weren't very many people. So he has been careful with COVID, and maybe that's why that the people surrounding him are not that many anymore. And I actually don't know who are nearby.
Mr. President, everybody is wondering about this question. It's going to get very cold. Gas is already very expensive. By some measures, it is 10 times as expensive now as it was before the invasion. Will Europeans be able to maintain the pressure, or will there start to be cracks in the European coalition against Russia?
Yes, gas, price of energy, food, even interest rates are rising. So that means tough times for households. it's often thought that Europeans or we Western people are used to, let's say, to a life which goes always to better and better, and thus that we are very weak to face difficulties. But I would say that Ukrainians gave an excellent example that there is stamina amongst people when difficulties come. And difficulties which we are facing are minor if compared to those Ukrainians are meeting. So I believe that we European people can take it and have resilience.
Specifically, one of the big issues that people worry about is Italy. The Italian elections, assuming Madam Meloni comes to power, this is a three-party coalition. Two of the parties have been openly pro-Russian. Is that likely to change the dynamic if the Italians go into the European Council and say, we don't want our, as some of the parties have been saying during the campaign, we don't want to have to pay for this. We don't want Italian households to have to bear the brunt of this war with Russia?
No, I actually don't believe that that would be a problem. The other issue is that the Italian economy is not in very good shape at the moment, and that might raise also questions and discussion on some kind of solidarity, financial solidarity in Europe, and I guess that might be even bigger or real problem.
Are you saying that the Italians will need money from the European Union, so they are unlikely to try to break ranks?
I wouldn't say that so directly, but nevertheless, the finances are not in a very good shape. We have to keep that in mind too.
Let me finally ask you sort of where we began, which is where do we go from here? There are people who think you just need to show as much military force, push the Russians back. And then there is another school that says you need to start searching for some diplomatic solution. The Ukrainians, as you know, are very opposed to that right now. What would your advice be to the West?
I am a man of peace, and I think that every possible deed for looking for peace is important. That's why I strongly support President Macron and Chancellor Scholz keeping the line open, a possibility open to discuss with the Kremlin. Although I have to admit that at the moment I don't see so very much possibilities to reach the peace.
Given your long relationship with Vladimir Putin, would you be willing to reach out and meet with him and try to see if there is a deal to be had?
Well, I haven't had any contact on him now, but if situation would be such that we find a possibility of getting something positive done, undoubtedly I would, surely after discussing with President Zelensky also. But I'm not asked to do, and I don't see at the moment any possibilities to have anything positive done.
Mr. President, pleasure to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.